listening to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Well, it's like when we audit the mod with Logic and give them the action items that they're going to use to lower their total cost of risk.
Tactical skills that will help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Technology is not an expense, it's an investment. Look at what Think HR has done for our clients and even our team. It's an amazing product, and I'm so thankful we have that.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Things are changing for us in 2021. Not all big business anymore. Now that we have Cover Wallet on our team, it's amazing that we're going to be able to write small business profitably.
This is Power Producer Shop Talk. Production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
What is up, Power Producers Nation? It's Shop Talk. It means it's Friday. Here with the beard, looking for the weekend.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Got the rope hat on.
Rope hat circuit, baby.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about stupid questions that producers ask at the point of sale. Like, what are the worst questions that you can ask as you're trying to qualify somebody or build trust, gain trust, whatever you want to call about it? And I'm just going to drop the hammer right out of the box.
Coming out hot.
Coming in just like, yes, just dropping plates right out of the box. And I think one of the absolute worst things that you can do is any salesperson, really, if this isn't even limited to insurance production, is to point blank ask your prospect, so what are your pain points?
Yeah.
Like, my theory is, or not my theory, my belief is, isn't that kind of your job to figure that out? Like,
right.
Through asking intelligent questions? I mean, I think that's part of the problem. If I'm a buyer, and I am to a certain degree, because I get approached by vendors, Lord
I buy
only
tons
knows.
of shit.
Yeah, well, Lord only knows, like, once I registered to go to the exhibit hall for FAIA, every vendor known to man has been all over me. Email, everything else, which, by the way, part of me hates that, but the other part of me loves it, because if their marketing game is weak, I call them on it right to their face. I'm like, did you really just email this to me? You know, and it just blows my mind. It's just like, it's like the people on LinkedIn that want to connect. And it's,
Dude,
hey, David R., I'd love to add you to my network. I'm
just
like,
just botting your ass.
Yeah.
There's this dude's been blowing me up on the freaking LinkedIn and just started sending me emails wanting to connect about, I don't even know what. I have no idea what. I think about, he wants to teach me how to sell things on LinkedIn. I've ignored him for.
Apparently, he's very successful based on your response.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I used to connect with people on here. You know, I know a few things. It's like the worst sales pitch I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. By the way, the people who try and make it conversational, but it sucks.
Oh
like,
God, it's cringe. I'm sitting there like, dude, stop. Get out of my inbox.
Yeah, it's horrible. But anyhow,
but I agree. I agree with you. I think, you know, you've got to be a little bit more clever in the way that you're trying to, like, that's our job to figure that out. Like, I mean, if you just walk up in there and you're like, so tell me your pain points so that I can sell you something, like that. I mean, that's lame. That's weak.
Right.
I mean, you've got to ask the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I've talked about a million times, man. Like, prepare your questions before you ever go in. Know what you're going to ask. Have a rough idea based on what you know as to what the point.
I feel so uncomfortable if I don't do that. Like, if I just try to roll up into a meeting without preparing any type of questions or thinking about what their problems are in my head beforehand, and then trying to develop those questions to get to that point. And if the problems are different, then that's great. You know, they're going to tell me through these questions. But if I were to just roll up to a meeting without doing that, I would just feel, I would feel so anxious the entire time.
I can tell you this, there's only been one time that I've even used the word pain point in an appointment. And it's the one that I went to with Raphael, that you had actually warned us about ahead of time, telling us that this lady loves to take meetings just to take meetings. you know who it is. I'm not going to announce
No,
it.
you don't need to say it, but I'm trying to think of.
They manufacture a fishing product.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we get into the meeting, man, and I was 100% on my A game if I have one. I asked all the right questions. She had an answer for everything. And I finally looked at her. I'm like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. We're booked for an hour. I've been going for 30 minutes. I've thrown everything at you but the kitchen sink.
Right.
You have an answer for everything.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Brought up, like, why are we having this meeting? I'm trying to find your pain point and you have no pain. What is it?
None.
She had no answer for me. I'm like, what kind of sick fetish do you have that you just want to schedule appointments to talk about insurance?
And it's a solid account. And so I remember when I was at the when I was at Coad and I rolled up in there with my manager at the time, and I had like prepared, went over everything, and I'm like asking all these questions, and like we're sitting there looking at each other like, what? I mean, it seems like you got a pretty good handle on things. I don't really know what else to tell you. Right. But yeah, anyways, I mean,
so to me, that's the only time it's acceptable to say, hey, so what is your pain point? I mean,
right.
You know,
so
let's just take me out of the equation, because obviously I'm not a good enough salesperson to ask the right questions to identify why you had this meeting. I just want to learn from it at this point. I'm going to chalk it up as stupid tax on my end. Tell me what it is that caused you to book this. And I mean,
yeah. So, but I do think that that's different though than asking them like what keeps them up at night about their business. Like, you know, that's a completely different question. I agree. Yeah. Right. But because I know we've talked about that before, and I feel like people might be sitting here listening to us and being like, well, dude, you guys have said that. I think that's different.
No, yeah, because you might find out, and that's the whole thing, man. If you go in about what the pain point is, typically it's a product-based question, right? You want to, oh, my GL renewal is too high. Oh, my audit was bad, or whatever else. If you ask what keeps me up at night, you know, typically if you're talking to the CEO, they're going to say, what keeps me awake at night is knowing that one of my employees in the manufacturing floor could lose a limb at any given time. And I want to make sure that we have the processes and procedures in place to make sure that happens.
Wouldn't that be an awesome answer? I would love to get that answer from everybody.
I've actually had that answer before, which is why it was so quick to roll off the tongue. But I mean, that's one thing they could say, you know, I'm always concerned about the fact that we get some of our raw materials from overseas, and, you know, what happens if one of the shipment containers flips over, and, you know, you can get into a million different things. And most of the time that's operationally based stuff,
exactly.
Right. And so to me, okay, I'm all over it. I'm glad that you're giving me operational things, because now I know how to frame some of my other questions. But, you know, or if you're with the CFO, they could talk about different things from the financial aspect. The HR person's going to have something completely different. And again, when you're asking the questions around what are the things that keep you awake at night, you're listening to be able to give them a solution to that problem, as opposed to selling them the product. Because again, it's so funny. I was just editing the YouTube version of the episode with Kevin Ring right before we jumped on, and I pulled the soundbite for the teaser that was him talking about a doctor going in and immediately saying, hey, you know, let's do surgery, or let's go into surgery when you go in talking about you have pain in your knee or whatever. And I mean, that's the reputation our industry has, unfortunately, is we're the person that's going to go in and immediately say, oh, I can sell you something to fix that. You know, and I think that's where the issue is. But if you go in and you're talking to that person, that CEO, about what keeps them awake at night, and he says, you know, I'm just really worried about, you know, finding out that somebody on the manufacturing floor has lost a limb or whatever else, then it goes into say, well, talk to me a little bit about your lockout tagout program. What does that look like? Talk to me about equipment guarding. Do you have some sort of an audit process for each of the workstations to where supervisors and the employees have to actually do an audit on a regular basis and sign off on it to make sure?
Guess what we're not talking about right there?
Yeah, exactly.
Selling them an insurance product.
Yeah, and you can get into all of the different things, and then you can talk about the resources that the agency has from an OSHA compliance standpoint and all of that other stuff. And again, that's how you're building rapport with these people. Right.
Yeah. Not only building rapport, but that immediately addresses what their concern was and kind of puts them at ease. They're like, okay.
And it drives the wedge because they're not getting it from somebody else right now, because if they were, that wouldn't be what was keeping them awake at night.
Exactly.
I mean, this is so easy, man. I mean, I get, it just blows my mind. I think about all the people.
I think people just go in with the wrong mentality, the wrong mindset. I think a lot of times it's, again, people are going in with that commodity, selling them a product thing to fix their issue. But I mean, that's not going to fix their issue. That's going to protect them and make them not go out of business if there is an issue. But how do we eliminate those risks that they do have?
Well, I think about all the people that are on the hamster wheel, right? Running the numbers game. Well, if I quote enough people, I'll get this many people to bind. And I mean,
which is fine for, yeah,
that's what it's been done for how many years, but
it works for some people, but that's who we take business from.
Yeah. Why do I want to work that hard? I mean, I'd rather be like 1 for 1 than 1 for 10,
it's exhausting because that's how it was in the office supply game. I mean, I know that's why it's so great to recruit people from that kind of stuff.
Right. Hey, here's another crappy question for you. What's your premium?
Yeah. I mean, right. Again,
can I get your deck pages? Can I get your deck pages so I can see the premiums? I mean,
right.
Why do you need that? It's funny because
and that's why people blot it out all the time because they're so used to insurance agents asking for that stuff. But I mean, I feel like whenever we're trying to get that information, it's for a completely different reason.
Well, and the thing, it cracks me up because when you go and ask people, I'll go talk to people and not ask for it in appointments. This has happened to me probably 24 times.
They just hand it over.
No, they ask, well, don't you need a copy of my current policies? I'm like, no, why do I need to cheat off of somebody else's homework? I'm pretty good at what I do. I can go ahead and structure your stuff myself. If it would make you feel more comfortable for me to review those. And I do want them. Don't get me wrong. I do want them, but I never ask for them. I want them to ask me if I want them. Right. And then the spin that I put on it is, well, I typically don't copy other people's work, but if it would make you feel more comfortable for me to do an audit of what you have so that I can show you deficiencies that may exist in your program, plus it'll keep the back and forth from happening for me looking for exposure basis and explanations on certain things, then I'm happy to take those and review them. But just understand, I don't have to have these policies to do my job the right way. So number one, it gives me more credibility because I'm not asking for them. Number two, it does give me the opportunity to do an audit of the coverage that's in place. And if there are deficiencies, it's just another wedge that I can drive. But really the wedge that I drove was the fact that I don't need to do business the way that everybody always does business.
Right. Yep. I'm with you there. But, framing it that way is much more effective because, I mean, ultimately, like you said, we do want that info. But if you frame it the way that you just talked about versus how 90% of other agents do, then I think that's like you said, that's an easy way to drive a wedge.
Well, the other problem is this: if you go in and ask somebody, "Hey, what's your premium?" You just made it a price-based sale.
Yeah.
Like right out of the box. Well, tell me how much you're paying now. I can save you. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I don't know. It's not a question I ever ask or think about. So I agree. I think it's weird.
I've heard it. I've heard it when I've had people, call on,
me
as the risk manager for one of these companies. It's crazy. How about it? Here's another crappy one. What's your mod?
I'm trying to think. What's your mod?
What's your mod? Well, why don't you know that before
first
you
of
ever
all,
go in?
We can find that out ourselves, but and
no, Kyle,
most
no,
of the
you
time,
can't, because you know why? I don't want to pay $6 to pull a mod. I don't want to pay $6 so that I'm well equipped when I walk in the front door. In fact, I don't even want to pay $14 so that I can get the last 10 mods before I walk in to the front door, so I can see if this year's an anomaly or if it's a constantly all over the place deal or if it's been consistently bad, right?
And I'm not telling you a single soul knows what their mod is. When, like, if you were to ask somebody that, if you're like, most of them would have no idea what you're even talking. Like, what is a mod? What is that?
Right. But, well, I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that I talk to when I say, are you happy that you're paying 49% more for your workers' comp than you should? Right. No, I'm not. The state sets the rates. Well, you're 100% right. The state does set the base rates.
However,
but here's a little nugget for you, sister.
You suck, and you've had 13 claims in the past 2 years, so your mod is jacked.
I will tell you, I've got one sitting here on my desk for an appointment that I had. I pulled the risk snapshot report, which is like the 10-year history.
Mm-hmm.
I was licking my chops when I went in. I'm not going to hold it up so anybody can see the name of the company, but you can pay your own $14 if you want to see their mods. But it's crazy, man. I looked at it, and I'm sitting here in the mods. These are the mods for the last 10 years. Ready? 1.59 is the upcoming mod.
Woof.
1.33, 1.55, 1.41, 1.31, 2.04, 1.54, 1.59, 1.21, 1.40, 1.53.
They haven't even been close to a 1 in 10 years.
So check this out. I'm licking
what kind of business
my chops.
is this?
This is the one that you and I talked about. It's a distribution company that's got like 12 locations over across the Southeast. My man Marvin, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Did me a solid, booked it, and I was pumped, right? And I was worried because he pulled it because it was a single location that showed up in Tampa, and this company's actually based out of Miami. And I'm like, this is not good. What do we
hang on? This is a different one than the one where you had the conversation with the lady and you're like, I'm going to go ahead and give you the, access to
completely. No, this is another. I'm sorry, people. Just let me stop for a second and praise my boy Marvin, the Filipino wrecking ball over there.
Marvin's crushing it.
Just setting appointments like I brush my teeth, man. He just setting appointments.
You brush your teeth 5 times a day?
Yes, I do. Just like I scratch my poison ivy. That by the way, that clip's going viral.
Oh,
I get HubSpot notifications of people opening that email nonstop every day. So I know it's going around offices. Anyhow, so I get on the phone and like everything's picture perfect, right? They're with a large national brokerage.
I don't think you and I have talked about this.
We did. I'll tell you what it is when we get off, but you'll know which one it is.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so with a large national brokerage house, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're flying under the radar. They're not paying attention to them. Enough's enough. They're not dealing with this anymore. Get on the horn with the lady from Human Resources, who's the person I was supposed to talk to, and I'm like, I noticed everything here. She goes, yeah, we're fine. We're in really good shape. I said, well. I noticed that your experience mod has never been below a 1. And I said, the only reason why I can assume that you would be okay, but have an experience mod above 1 is because you're in a captive, because I can tell that the insurance company you're with is AIG, and I typically don't see them on something like this if it was standalone. The only thing I can think of is that you're with a captive and you're performing very well in the captive, but you take the mod of the captive because you're inside and they're using your good performance and collecting premium from you to subsidize the poor performance of other members that are contributing to the mod. And she goes, that's exactly right. And so my next question was, why did you take my call? Like, why are we even talking? And I did. I asked her, I said, so why are we talking? I mean, what do you need from me? Are you having problems with training and development, recruiting? Do you need safety processes and procedures? I know you have to have HAZCOM and OSHA compliance because of the nature of the product you're distributing. What can I possibly do to help you? She goes, well, I just want to see if what we have is the best deal. I said, don't ever leave. Don't ever leave where you're at.
Okay.
I said, because my guess is they're cutting your price, your rates so low to keep you in that it's not going to be advantageous for you to get out. And I said, it's going to be a headache for you to escape the mod of the captive, right? You're going to have to do, you might be able to do like an ERM6 or something like that. Truthfully, I don't even know because I've not.
So if they were to leave, if they were to leave, that would just stick with them like any other mod would.
Unless you're able to pull their individual loss data and payroll information out, complete an ERM6, turn it over to NCCI and have their own mod promulgated, which is what I've had to do for companies in PEOs before.
Yeah.
Never pulled anybody out of a captive in this arrangement because typically once you get in, you don't get out. And the people who do have such horrible performance, they end up in the JUA.
Are they just in there? Obviously, we are way down a different rabbit hole, but I'm curious. Like, are they just in there on the comp alone, or is it?
I didn't even ask.
Yeah,
I couldn't get off the phone fast enough. That was a 5-minute conversation.
Gotcha.
And honestly, if I wasn't being nice and just wishing a nice weekend, it would have been about a 2 minute and 37 second conversation. I couldn't get off that call fast enough.
Interesting.
But was impressed that Marvin actually called those people. I'll tell you what, man, Marvin did a Houdini on somebody yesterday, and this will be good segue into.
That's what we're talking about next, I think, right?
Yeah, into the one we're going to record next
episode.
I get a call, or I get an email from Kim that the controller of a very large and well-known restaurant group locally had called back looking for me about a workers' comp claim, and I'm like, we don't represent these people. So gives me the controller's cell phone number and said they want me to call immediately. I was over at FAIA in the middle of the exhibit hall, barely able to hear, and I call back, and it is this controller, and it's like, how can I help you? He goes, well, my so-and-so called me and said that you had some questions about a workers' comp claim or our renewal or something like that. And I said, well, I don't represent you, so I'm not exactly sure. He goes, well, no, she said. I was like, I said, Marvin, I said, your gatekeeper did a good job of keeping you away, but you got curious, and now you got the tiger by the tail. I said, we don't represent you, but could. I said, I'm not in a position to talk with you now, but would love to have that conversation at some point if you're open to it. And he said, no, I would like to have the conversation with you.
Nice.
And he said, you're right. I mean, so even when he doesn't mean
to, the thing
Marvin's
that's great about
back
Marvin
with
is
the
he
deals.
doesn't know any better. Like
No.
he has no clue that this restaurant chain or whatever is like legit. Like he just sees them on the list, and there's a phone number, and knows that the renewal comes up in August, and he's calling them. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I'm with it. So listen, we need to wrap up because we'll just end up doing the whole other recording right now. So everybody have a good weekend. Don't ask dumb questions. Do your stuff before you get in there. Plan your appointments out. Try and figure out questions that are going to lead you to a pain point. Don't ask what it is. That's lazy. Nobody likes lazy. Get out of here.
See ya.
You've been listening to Power Producers Shop Talk. You can follow us at the Power Producers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our commercial insurance training course at killingcommercial.com or visit Amazon to pick up a copy of our international best-selling book, The Extra 2 Minutes.